Hello, hello, crafty peeps. Welcome back to my channel, Crafty-ish Kristyn. Today it is time for a WIP and Chatty rant. What is a WIP and Chatty rant? You may be asking yourself. WIP, W-I-P, stands for work in progress. And a chatty rant is me chatting and ranting about the goings-on over the past week or so. Today, my WIP is Rokkari. I didn't put tape on here and you can tell. This is Kawaii Nightmares from Rokkari. And I know it looks like I've gotten a lot done since the kitting up video, 2 days ago. I actually filmed the kitting up like 2 weeks ago. So I'm not that fast and I don't have that much free time. So there's that. Just getting that out of the way now. I didn't work all night to try to get it to this point of almost completion. So, like I said, Rokkari. This is a round drill painting. It is 30 by 40 centimeters, and I kind of wish I would have gotten it bigger. I don't think it looks bad, but I feel like if you can see the detail in that image, I feel like it really would have been breathtakingly stunning if I would have gotten it bigger. And I kind of knew going into it that maybe you shouldn't order the smallest size, but I was curious. Maybe someday I'll order it in a bigger size and I'll do a comparison of smaller versus a bigger size. Don't hold me to that because I got a lot of paintings I still want to do. So we have the Rokkari painting. We have a cover minder. Little Powerpuff Girls right here. That is from Jenny Rose Designs on Etsy. And I will have everything linked in the description box down below. I have one last little piece of release paper here. That's where we're going to be working. And this is the one of the papers from the Dark and Creepy Diamond Painting bundle on Bee's Crafty Corner. She does have an Etsy shop. She does have an Etsy shop, and she also has a website now. I think the website is a better deal because I know Etsy takes, a percentage of what any seller makes. But again, go and check out Bee's Crafty Corner, favorite release paper dealer. Yes, yes. I have a pen from ZAP Designs. He is on Facebook. And this is a Flawa Designs pen. This was a gift, obviously by the saying on here. Yes, it is. And this is an Ephemera 3D tray. I did put the washi tape on the bottom to kind of mimic the washi bottom. So I do love the feature of having, a little flat area at the back that helps the drills line up just a little bit extra. And, I keep sticking to the canvas. Oh my gosh. This is why you put washi tape down. But I was lazy and impatient and I didn't. And I'm regretting my life choices. Goodness gracious. I am also using Grayson Creations. This is their intergalactic putty. And this is, okay. The scent is caramel hazelnut. Smells amazing. But I am kind of a moron and I went for a color that I thought looked pretty. So I got like mint green. And so whenever I see this putty, I think it's going to smell like mint or chocolate mint. And it smells like caramel hazelnut. It kind of messes with my brain. So I highly recommend if you get a putty from somewhere and you get to pick your color and your scent. If you think it's going to bother your brain, then get ones that correspond with each other. And this is what the putty looks like. It's a lot harder than regular, putty that's a little more stringy. So, again, that is the Grayson Creations. That will be listed in the description box down below. I think that's it. Oh, my drills. My drills are a mess, okay? They're a mess. I'm sorry. I didn't put them in my tower because I knew it wouldn't take very long. So they're just kind of randomly in this box. And honestly, 0 out of 10, do not recommend not having them in some kind of order. I learned a lesson. I won't be doing this again. But since this is the last square, whatever. So let me get zoomed in and we will get started on this. I will be flipping the canvas around so it's closer to me, so I'm not reaching across the table. So yeah, don't go anywhere. Alrighty, diamond painting updates. Almost done with this one. I think I actually may have mentioned that last week that I was almost done with it, but I wanted to at least work on it once with you guys to show you guys how it was looking. I finished Catnap, so that one is looking good. Color blocking at the end. I got a little impatient, so my lines are not as straight as they could be, you know, but it happens, right? Sometimes it's not about the finished project. Sometimes it's just about the process. I have seen that like a little bit in my Facebook group too. And if you are interested in joining the Facebook group, there is a link in the description box. Just make sure to answer the questions. The questions are there just to make sure everybody knows the rules and to keep it a safe and a positive, uplifting space for everybody. But, you know, somebody was working on a painting and said, it didn't really come out that great for the size. But, you know, they were okay with it because, you know, sometimes we just need to keep our hands busy. I am one of those people that I need to be doing something. Like if I'm watching a movie or TV or something, I've always been one of those that needs to just be doing something, whether it be, you know, coloring or a craft, or, you know, I've gone through lots of crafts over the years. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. Let's see. So Catnap is a wrap. I got my Rokkari customs, and I did have a special helper unboxing those. So that'll probably, oh my gosh, probably a week or two. I'm a little ahead with the videos. Thanks, Sharky. He's saying good job. Yeah. I placed my first order from Diamond Art Club since I think it was November of 2023. It's been a while, and I did get the kitchen ducks. I was so graciously warned that it was back in stock. So thank you, Tracy. My husband does not thank you, but you know, it's fine. I told him, you know, he knows how I am. So he's not grumpy or anything. He's just like, whatever. So got kitchen ducks. So that is super exciting. Again, one of those things where then I look at the size and I go, oh my gosh, that's a big painting. Yeah, but sometimes when you like an image, you don't care how big it is. I did also order from a few different Etsy shops. And I got a really cute pink and black pen from Flawa Designs. Got to get ready for Pink and Black 2026. And then I did get some things from some other places. Yes, I did. Oh, I got so many people tagged me again. You guys know me so well. Thank you. The Diamond Design Co. did a special Regan Kubicek Care Bear canvas release. So I did order those. Yes, I did. So it's like 5 mini. It's not really mini because I think they're 30 by 40. So I mean that's like this size actually. But they're, you know, smaller. 5 littler paintings. I am insanely excited to check those out. I do have one from Diamond Design Co. that I am working on. It's taken a while. And I got the, what is it called? We Go Together, like, where, you know, it's like toast like with like peanut butter and jam and macaroni and cheese. Very sweet. And then a diamond painting small shop update. It was brought to Mushmallow and I's attention over the weekend that there was a TikTok on Reid's Putty and that they are closing. And we don't have any insider info, so I don't know if this is just a temporary close or a, long-term close. I don't want to put, information out there that is not the right information. I would never want to spread any false information or anything like that. So there is a TikTok explaining the reasoning. Obviously, health, family has to come first. We have to prioritize those things. So I am then now kind of trying out some of my other putties that I have. And it's kind of something I wanted to ask for feedback about from the community. So if you want to join in the discussion, please comments below. Always be, kind and respectful. Before I go into what I was wanting to talk about, I do just want to say, I'm sorry if anybody saw us promoting the putty and the collab and maybe was waiting to order and you didn't get to order in time. Again, if we would have known the shop was closed 2 weeks prior, we would not have been telling people to go to their, their TikTok, their Etsy, etc., etc. So I just, not that I want to speak for anybody, but, I do feel comfortable enough apologizing to everybody on my behalf and Mushy's behalf because, we always want to try to present the most accurate, up-to-date information that we can. And, sometimes we don't have the most up-to-date information, obviously. I guess what I am curious about is, as a viewer, somebody who watches channels, how do you feel when you see a creator using a product that you can't buy anymore? Let's say the product was discontinued or the shop closed, various reasons. Are you bothered if somebody uses, let's say, a pen from a company that's closed, or maybe release papers in a pattern you can no longer get? I feel like diamond paintings are kind of a weird category for that because there are so many diamond painting shops that have closed for various reasons over the years, or, an image is discontinued and, you can't get it unless you, sell a kidney on the black market in a D-stash group, those things. So how do you guys feel when you see somebody using something that there's no way that you'd be able to get your hands on it? Do you feel kind of like, whatever, I don't care. You have your favorite things and that's no big deal. Do you feel kind of irked, maybe a little salty because why are you showing me things that I can't buy? I would very much love to know how people feel. I guess I really started to think about this because I saw that, Reid's was closing, and I thought, well, okay, what am I going to be a jerk if I use the putty that I'm really enjoying on camera if other people can't get their hands on it? Here I am going, I love this putty. Oh, but you can't get it. I'm sorry. Does that make me look, I don't know, does that make me look bad? Or, like I'm not considerate of others and what they're able to get, what they're not able to get? As a creator, I always, and I can only speak for myself, but I always want to try and share accurate information. And, if I'm having a good experience with something, I like to share it with people because, maybe it would help them if they're trying to decide on something. But then when it's not for sale anymore or whatever, then I would hate to have somebody see something and be like, oh man, I really wish I could get that, but I can't get it. So there's kind of a fine line between wanting to share things that we love and enjoy, but also, share things that you guys can potentially, get as well. A lot of us do try to shop at some of the smaller shops to try things out and to give you our honest opinions, because whether the creators like it or not, I think viewers like you guys, you tune in and you have to develop a sense of trust with people. And so if a creator is not honest, then you're not going to trust a word out of their mouth. We've all seen people, unbox like giant hauls of things, and it's like, but did you try the products? I mean, that would be. Cats are on my last nerve today. Oh my gosh. I always try to try things before I can, give an opinion about how it works. We can say, yeah, this looks good, but until you actually test it out, until you get a little bit of time in with a product, you don't really know. And I know that there are some myths that creators get special perks, or they get better treatment when they order from, a small shop or a company than, non-creators, which isn't always true. That is not always true. A lot of people, at least I know, they order a lot of times with their regular names. They pay with their own money. I think a lot of people think that creators are just getting truckloads of free products delivered to their door, which maybe some do. If you're on a sneak peek team and you're pumping out a new unboxing video every week for a giant company, yeah, you probably are getting them for free. But most of us are spending our hard-earned money on things. And so we want to give you guys the honest truth opinions about the things that we're purchasing, because we don't want you to waste your money either. And, there is nothing worse than when somebody, and I can only speak for myself again, when I recommend a shop, like, hey, try this shop. I did, and I really like this and that and this. And then somebody tries the shop based on my recommendation, and then somebody has a horrible experience. There's been a bunch of companies and little shops and whatnot that have popped up since I've been on YouTube and that I've recommended, and then they've ghosted people. They've closed up all of a sudden, taken people's money, not giving them refunds. People have to fight PayPal. And as somebody who had a decent experience with that shop at one point, it literally makes me want to vomit, because I would never, ever, ever want people to think that I'm recommending a shop that's scamming people. That is so against everything I stand for. And deep down, I think we know that it's not our fault. We didn't do it. We didn't encourage the shop to take somebody's money and then dip out on them. But because we recommended, then, it makes us look bad. And then it could make people feel like, well, that person's not trustworthy anymore. I don't trust what they say. And if you don't have trust in a relationship, then you ain't going to have a good relationship. So I would love to know the things that I'm asking about, because they've been rolling around in my head. Do I use the things that I have? The tools of the trade, the pens, the papers, the putties, all the stuff, even though some of them aren't available, because am I just going to waste my money and let them just sit there and collect dust? Or do I then scout out shops that are open that, might be a good fit for somebody? And I don't think there's a right and a wrong answer for anything. I also would love, love, love it if people in the comments, we're going to refrain from mentioning any shops that maybe we haven't had a good experience with, because this is not to shame any shop for closing, whatever reason may have transpired, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not our lives, you know. Things can happen, things can boil out of control, and if a shop closes, we don't know what's going on. So this is not to shop shame any business. I would love instead to have you guys list any shops that you've had an amazing experience with. You know, somebody, maybe it's a shop that you just ordered from, maybe it's one that you go back to time and time again. Let's post some shop recommendations for the rest of us, and you know, let's all go in the comments. Check out the shops that people are listing, and who knows, you might find a shop where you might find one of your next favoritist products, right? Because you can take people's word for it on the internet, like somebody like me or a different YouTuber, and say, oh my gosh, I love this thing, you know, but hey, take the word of some other people who are in the comments saying, I ordered from this shop and I really liked it. So share below, please, because sharing is caring, and we need more caring in this world. Yes, we do. Alrighty, we're gonna depart this train station and go on to a new topic. My husband and I decided to go antiquing this weekend. Yes. We used to love going to thrift stores and antique stores years ago. And I don't know when exactly things changed, but the thrift stores started getting not thrifty. Especially, you know, we have lots of Goodwills around us, and if you're not familiar with the Goodwill, I think it's a non-profit, and they sell things, you know, like a thrift store, and they use the money to fund programs and stuff like that. But, you know, I've heard various things about, you know, CEOs and people high up making a lot of more money than maybe somebody working for a charity should. But again, I don't know. That's just things that I've seen on the interwebs. So thrift stores around us have gotten expensive, just like everything else in this freaking world right now. And we had one down the street, and my husband finally, he stopped going because he just liked to go and look for random crap, you know? And he took a bunch of pictures of things at the thrift store where they had price tags on them next to the Goodwill price tag. And there were some hammers, and they were brand new hammers, you know, marked from like a hardware store. And then there was a Goodwill sticker right next to it. And the Goodwill sticker was more than the hardware store price, which, you know, I mean, it's their business. But when you're trying to bill yourself as a company that is helping others, who are you helping with that exactly, you know? So anyways, we don't really go to the thrift stores anymore because it's just a bunch of junk. It's overpriced, and I don't know if there's something to do with, you know, Etsy, or not Etsy, but like resellers, basically. You know, you have people that buy things and they flip them on Facebook Marketplace, and, you know, they do this, they do all the stuff. I don't know if that has something to do with it, or maybe people are just taking the initiative to try to sell their own used goods. I don't know. But the fun had kind of been sucked out of looking for weird, quirky, vintagey stuff at the thrift stores around us. And same with antique stores. They started getting expensive. You know, and I know it's antiques, but some of the stuff is, you know, priced kind of high for what it is. So we decided, we're like, well, we'll just go try, you know. If anything, we like to play kind of little games when we go. You know, we call it, how much is this? Or how much do you think this is? And so we'll find something and we'll hold it up and go, okay, how much do you think it is? You know, and the other person has to guess how much we think it's marked as. My husband is so good. Oh, he's so good at it. I'm always like, how do you know? And I'll make sure to go to a little section before him so he can't see, cheat. But nope, he's good at it. So we did go somewhere, and we went somewhere kind of far away. I mean, I say far away, but if I'm in the car for more than 20 minutes, I consider that to be far away. We went somewhere that was an hour and a half away. Yes. And since I can't ride in the car for more than 20 minutes without feeling carsick, I had to drive, which was unfortunate because there was a lot of road closures and traffic and stupidity out there. Yeah. But we did get to our destination, and luckily there's like public parking, and there's a bunch of thrift stores, or not thrift stores, antique stores, all in one general area within, kind of like one block, or not one block, but one road, where you walk down. So that was kind of nice. You didn't have to keep getting in the car and driving and parking and finding spots and all that stuff. And the first store we went to, I mean, that's the only things we bought was the first store we went to, which was kind of crazy. They had hang on. They had a Garfield life jacket. Garfield the cat life jacket. That thing had to have been from the 80s or 90s. And since my son, he has a Garfield collection, we got it because we were like, when are you ever going to see a Garfield life jacket? Did anyone else have like a Garfield obsession when it was going on, back in the olden days? Let me know what your craziest Garfield purchase was. Yeah. So we got him the Garfield life jacket. And then there was a painting of a duck. And this duck looked kind of grumpy. And we just thought it was kind of funny. And we want to make a wall upstairs, basically, with random art. Kind of like things that make you do a double take and go, huh? What? So duck painting had been acquired as well. And that is pretty much it. That's all we bought. We walked around, we went to a bunch of stores, and just, how sometimes you just don't see anything that fits the criteria of you willing to purchase. Because there were things that I wanted. Oh my gosh. There was some Pyrex that if I could have justified it, I would have purchased because it was beautiful and in immaculate condition. There was a whole set of turquoise patterned bowls. I think it was 4 bowls. They wanted like $300 for it, and I'm like, nah, I don't think so. No, can't justify that. It's like, I have some of those bowls already, so I will just leave you here for someone else. Lots of Pyrex that was very expensive for the condition the Pyrex was in, because if you don't know, if Pyrex is dull and kind of scratched, that means that somebody probably put it in the dishwasher. There was a lot of dishwashed Pyrex for premium prices. So did not get any of that because I don't need any scratched up Pyrex. I'm trying to be very picky about my Pyrex. Yes, I am. I will put a picture up of my little kitchen shelf of my most favoriteest Pyrex acquirements and little like vintage planters that I like to get. The little cute little animal vintage planters. Basically I just like to find something kind of weird and cute and not really expensive. So did not find things that really fit into that last category of not very expensive. And again, I'm asking lots of questions today. I'm sorry. But if you understand how having a stall in an antique mall, if you understand how that works, how do people afford these stalls? Because for how expensive some of the stuff was, And maybe it's a Washington thing. I don't know. But for how expensive some of this stuff was, I can't imagine a lot of it is selling. You know, we went on a Saturday. There were not many people at the antique store. So how does that work? You know, you have a flat fee perhaps, and maybe it's different for every antique store. I don't know. But you have a fee maybe, and then maybe the shop gets a percentage of what you sell. I don't know with some of these booths and their prices. I mean, and maybe I'm completely ignorant to, you know, what people are willing to spend, but I'm not willing to spend as much as I saw. And I was kind of bummed because there's a lot of, at least the shops we went to, again, and maybe antique trends change over time, but there were a lot of the colored glassware. You know, I don't know if it's crystal or if it's just glassware. Lots of colored glassware and lots of tools, like rusty tools, which my husband loves to look at. And just not really any vintage cartoon stuff, like, you know, Care Bears, Strawberry Shortcake. Really didn't see any of that, which is heartbreaking for me, obviously. I did wear my Care Bear sweatshirt in solidarity for the lack of Care Bear merch at the antique stores. So yeah, you know, and I mean, just like garage sales and all those things, you never know what you're going to find. I didn't think that I would find a Garfield life jacket. I wish. I always, every time we go there, I'm like, why didn't I keep that from when I was a child? You know, I could have made some money on it. We had all those McDonald's Garfield cups. You know, the ones when you would buy like a meal, or there'd be a limited edition, and once a week there'd be a new cup. We had the Garfield clear coffee cups, and, you know, got rid of them someday. And now I'm just kicking myself all the old McDonald's toys and stuff like that. Not that I want to sell them to make money, but just the nostalgia factor. So I used to make fun of my mom because she'd save all this stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's so much junk in here. And now, now I get it. Because I'm like, why didn't I keep all that stuff? Why didn't I keep that Rainbow Bright blanket set? And, you know, why didn't I keep that Care Bear camera and, you know, all my toys? Yeah, I get it now. I get it. Moral of the story, be a hoarder. If you can. If you have the space. If you don't have the space, well, you know, then you can't do that. Some of the stores, and again, usually antique stores, I feel like that would be one of the places I would not want to be in if there was, you know, like we live in Washington, so everybody says the big earthquake's coming. I would be horrified to be in some of these antique stores if a big earthquake came, because everything would break and fall on top of me and crush me. And, you know, with the rickety floors and the wobbly displays and all the glass. Oh my gosh, no. My poor husband, he is tall. I'm short, so I don't have to worry about these things. And there was one place, and when you went up to the second floor, there were all these signs. You know, watch your head, bonk. You know, on the wood beam, like a little neon sign thing. But I mean, it was on every single beam. And I think his dad called. So he's talking to his dad, and he's not fully paying attention to the beams. And I hear about, ah! And I was like, oh, he hit his head. Oopsie. I'm not laughing at him. I'm laughing with him. He's like, they need to put some, you know, like insulated pipe fitting on the corners of those just to soften the blow. But he only hit his head once. He did learn after that. Yes, he did. I always have sneezing fits in the antique stores when I go. I'm always like, I don't have any allergies. I should be fine. And then all of a sudden it's just achoo, achoo, achoo. Because I'm sure it's really hard to dust properly in some of those old buildings where I almost said insulation. I was going to say like the ventilation and just the sheer volume of stuff that's piled up on shelves. I mean, I think it's hard to dust at my own house. I can't even imagine a store full of treasures that need to be cleaned off. And I don't know, I love the smell of, scented candles and stuff like that. I love those smells. Like this putty, it smells so good. But sometimes people can't be in stores like that because they, are very, very, very sensitive to smells. And my husband is one of those people. And there were a few stores where we didn't even get in the door. And he said, nope, can't go in there. You could just smell, the wax warmers, the candles, the whatever thing they're making the air smell, fragrant and like a delicious treat. You could just smell it. He's like, I can't go in there. And I'm like, well, I don't really need to go in there either then. So it is interesting though. The businesses will do that because, I feel like there are a lot more allergies and sensitivities out there than there used to be. You used to very rarely hear about people being allergic to as many things as they are now. And maybe it's just like, yeah, it makes me sneeze a little, but there are people that are actually allergic to some of the ingredients in those things. So I don't know. I don't know if it'd be worth it as a business owner, because what if the one thing that person's been looking for years is in your store, but they can't even step foot in it because, your store smells like candied apples. Yeah. Again, the things that go through my brain when I'm just like sitting there or walking or driving, it goes on lots of random little spiels. I did mention, I think in a previous video, or maybe it was the Facebook group, I don't really remember, how our Ring cameras kept going off because there were deer in the yard. Now we're up to 6. 6 deer are going from the backyard to the front to the driveway, and it's affecting my sleep. There is a mama deer, and then 2 babies. And then there's about 3 male deers that kind of follow behind. And my husband said that they're probably, following her around because they want to mate with her, which rude. Okay, literally this mom deer is probably trying to feed her babies and keep them alive, and she's got 3 people trying to like circle to swoop in to, I don't know, like sneak up on her. I mean, goodness gracious. How about they help out and they corral those baby deer so they don't go into the road and become, deer pancakes, right? But I was like, we need to get a new security system because we have a system, but then we also have Ring cameras, and seemingly the Ring cameras cannot distinguish between animals and people. So it just goes off all night long. Motion, person detected. No, that is a deer. That is an animal. That is a deer. Even the raccoon and the possum and the random cat, person detected. Like, that is the smallest person ever. So you need to go and get yourself fixed, Ring camera. But I need to find something that can tell me, like, can I just screen it for animals? Because my fear is, and my husband keeps turning it off, but what if he's turning it off and then somebody comes in the yard, then I'm not going to know that there's some person creeping around my garage or, creeping around in my driveway. So I'm torn because I need to sleep and I can't have it going off all the time. But I need to know if there's a human lurking. Speaking of lurking, oh my goodness, I was driving, I think it was yesterday. I left to go to school to pick people up, and on the side of the road, there was some guy walking, and he just, I don't know, he just, you know, you get a vibe, and you just get that uneasy feeling. And I've been watching a lot of true crime, which I need to not do as much. And I was watching, I think it was Annie Elise, and she was saying, you know, people need to trust their gut. And I was like, ugh. So he's walking on the side of the road and just looking a little off. Oh, almost flipped my pen. And so I was like, I don't know. So I called the house, or I called my mom's, you know, my mom lives with us. And so she has her own home phone and she has a cell phone. And so I tried calling her, but apparently I called her cell phone. Well, then I realized I was calling her cell phone, but then I couldn't get it pulled up on the stupid screen in the car to call her home phone. So then she calls me back from her cell phone, but it's trying to FaceTime, but I'm in the car. And so I hang up and I call her house phone. It was this giant cluster. And I was like, turn the alarm on, because this guy looked really weird and he's like probably walking by the house right about now, you know. And so she's like, okay. So she turned on the alarm, and you know, nothing happened, but I did see a few posts later on in one of the neighborhood groups that, you know, guy was kind of walking around and kind of lingering in front of people's houses a little bit too long, like maybe looking around, seeing, you know, what kind of stuff was, and who knows, maybe he was just on a walk. But I'm like, you got to trust your gut. You got to trust your gut, because setting the alarm, you know, I mean, he's not going to know I set the alarm. And if he was up to, you know, nothing nefarious, well, you know, I would rather be safe than sorry, because things are getting unhinged out there. And, you know, I would feel absolutely awful if something happened and my mom was here alone and someone that I saw, you know, tried to break in or steal something from the house. Like, I have no idea. Again, too much true crime. Really need to cut back on the amount of hours that I watch. Yeah. So I just keep noticing I missed so many symbols in this, but it's okay. It's fine. I always assume when I'm doing a WIP and chat, then I'm going to miss a bunch of symbols, because that's just what I do. I can't even imagine living in, I'm going to say the olden days, but I can't think of a nicer way to say it. But back in the day, where people left their houses unlocked, and like they didn't lock their car doors and whatnot. I can't even imagine that. I cannot even imagine that. You know, I grew up the 80s, the 90s, and even then my parents were really good about locking doors. It was, you know, lock the doors. You don't leave things unlocked. And I don't even feel like we really lived in a, I don't know, in like a high crime area, but you know, I'm glad that I wanted, you know, that my parents were locking the doors and whatnot, just because, again, you don't know what people are doing, what they're thinking, what they're on, what their, you know, their state of mind is. I mean, just listen to the news and, ugh. You know, you're listening and you're thinking, what? This makes no sense. How do people think that it's okay to do XYZ, you know, or they're just not thinking at all, or people are so self-centered, focused that, you know, they don't care about anybody else and their needs. All they care about is what they want. I mean, we were driving home from the antique mall, and there are all these people, you know, driving just erratically, like super, super erratically. no, not a care in the world. They're tailgating you, they're going around you, and then they're slamming on their brakes and they're doing this and that. And I just kept thinking, when did it become like that? Where, like if you want to look at your cell phone while you're driving, not paying attention to the road, you want to put your life at risk, okay, fine, whatever. Go into the woods and go drive on some dirt road away from other humans who actually have, considerate thoughts for others. And if you want to endanger your own life, then go do that. But don't be putting me and my family in danger, because the sad state is, if something happens, they may not fully damage themselves. They might just hurt other people. It's just, ugh. I think that's another reason why I have so much anxiety about, my teenager driving. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's going to be the crappy actions from someone else. And, we're going to have to deal with that. And it's going to be, he's going to get hit by somebody who's, texting while driving, or playing Pokemon Go while driving, or trying to live chat and like live feed talk on TikTok. Like, it just, I don't understand why it's so, I feel like everything's chaotic. It's all chaotic. And then it makes me feel chaotic. And then when I feel like I'm the only person, freaking out or concerned about things, then I feel like, okay, am I the problem? Am I just overreacting completely? Because, maybe I am overthinking things. But then literally like 5 seconds later, I'll be like, okay, yeah, no, that person's crossing the yellow line. So I do need to cut over here, Like, I don't even feel like you can stop looking at the road for a second. It just, I did figure out how to turn off the sensor in the car, where it tells you if you're going over the white line or you're leaving your lane, because it was getting a little ridiculous. Every time I drove, it's like beeping at me, and then it kept saying, put your hands on the steering wheel. Like, are you freaking kidding me? My hands are not leaving the steering wheel. Have you seen the people around me car? If you're such a smart car, you need to see that the people around me are driving erratically. I'm not letting go of the steering wheel. I promise you. So my husband figured that out, how to turn that off. Then I started getting, every time I turned the car on, it was saying I needed to have maintenance done soon. Like, I've owned the car for 3 months. It's saying I need to get my car serviced in 5,700 miles or 24 days. Like, no. So I figured how to turn that off too. Because I used the Google, right? Google can be your friend. And then last night I was driving and I never seen this on the car before. We were almost home and it beeped at me and a symbol popped up on the dash thingy. And I said, what is that? And one of my kids was like, I don't know. And I said, Google what that symbol is, because I have no idea what that is. And so they Googled, and I was like, is my car overheating? What is going on? But it looked like a coffee cup, and it was kind of an orangey brown color, and it popped up and then it disappeared. It was a symbol to alert me that I might be getting sleepy behind the wheel. Like, are you kidding me? I've been driving for 10 minutes. It's 7:30 at night. I wasn't, drifting or anything. I'm like, this car thinks it knows better than me, and I'm not a fan of that. And I'm like, you need to get in your own lane, car, because I'm in charge. I'm in charge of you. You are not in charge of me. Oh my gosh. I've never argued with a car as much as this car. I'm like, maybe this is just how smart cars are, and I've never had one, but yeah, I'm questioning how smart this car actually is. So let me zoom out. Here we are. It's kind of a mess. Behind the scenes, these ones are ones I've used, but there's missing ones in here, so I will have to go back. But that's a later problem. That's not a right now problem. Don't forget to answer one of the questions, all the questions that I posed, and please feel free to leave any shop names down in the comments below of shops that you've had amazing experiences with. Because again, sharing is caring. That's going to be it for me today, guys. If you have not, please consider liking, subscribing, sharing, hearting, farting, doing all the things. And I will see you again very, very soon. Big awkward hugs. Bye, guys. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Watch out, dude. Watch yourself, cat. Watch yourself. I said stop moving. I said stop moving. Boop. Boop. Boop, boop, boop. Okie dokie. I'm going to stick to this canvas the entire time I'm working on it, aren't I? He's going to stare at me the entire time, isn't he? Yes, he is. Sometimes it's not about the finished product. Sometimes it's not a... Can't talk. Cat is trying to destroy my closet door. Thanks for that. Okay, let's try this again, shall we? Oh my gosh. Kristyn, your words are sucking. Edit the burp. Oh yeah, I really did miss a bunch. My gosh. My gosh. No. Oh, hi. Hi, Sharky. Hello. You want to say goodbye, Sharky? No, he's too good for us all.